Hi, my name's Leanne-Marie Mees and I'm representing the No Leeds Datacentre campaign. I just want to say first of all, thank you to everyone who's followed the steps we asked you to take so far. That's objecting via the planning portal, signing our 38 degrees petition, asking your local councillor and MP to sign the Global Action Plan pledge. We've now got over 100 volunteers and we've been so busy behind the scenes this week that I thought I'd better share an update on where we are, what our next steps are going to be, and just what we've learned so far. So this week I contacted every single local councillor, MP, the mayors for Leeds and West Yorkshire, and I asked for their feedback on the planning process and to ask for their support on a moratorium on constructing any new data centres, which is what the Global Action Plan pledge is. Now, given how much feedback we've had since we started campaigning that were along the lines of, why didn't I know about this? How can this have already been approved? We were not surprised by how many of the local councillors also came back to say they didn't know anything about a data centre being constructed. So thank goodness we've had a team of people scouring the planning documents, talking to experts, researching the impact it's going to have, so at least we can get the local councillors up to speed, as well as you, the people of Leeds. Now, I should tell you, the Cabinet Member for Planning has provided a formal response to our complaint that the planning process lacked an appropriate community consultation for a project of this nature, and that the decision's been made against the best interests of Leeds in general. Now, we appreciate that they've technically followed the planning process they're supposed to follow, but we're not talking about a simple block of flats here. This is something that's going to have a huge impact on Leeds, and in this video I'm going to talk in a lot of detail about what we now know about the impact this data centre on Leeds is going to have, and therefore why you should care about it. Okay, so we need to be fair. As far as data centres go, Microsoft are admittedly more consciously designed than some of the alternative companies. But this doesn't mean that they should be granted planning approval without much further scrutiny of the impact than we've seen. Leeds City Council have a duty to the people of Leeds to grant conditional planning approval based on much stricter standards in line with net zero targets, and we think they should hold Microsoft accountable if they don't meet these targets, and we're just not confident that this is something that's going to happen. So ideally we'd like to stop this from going ahead, but if it's not possible to do that, then we want to make sure that this is the most consciously designed data centre possible and that we minimise the impact it's going to have on Leeds. Okay, so for example, we know AI is not currently a profitable technology. You've probably heard a lot of speculation over whether the AI bubble's going to burst. So if they want a future-proofed, profitable project, Microsoft really should be prioritising planet and people and investing in renewable energy. And 0.03% of solar energy is simply not acceptable when the power usage of the data centre is the equivalent of 606,728 households a year. Now, just to put that figure into context, according to the 2021 census, there are 345,695 households in Leeds. So this data centre is roughly projected to double the strain on the national grid. And we know that when utilities like power and water become scarce, the costs go up. And we know that despite the vast profits that utilities companies make, privately owned corporations prioritise their shareholders and they pass those costs on to the consumers. And we don't want to see that happening any further in Leeds because according to the Leeds Poverty Factbook, 21% of us already live below the poverty line. That's around 176,000 people. I think it's 176,376 to be exact. And according to the LILE metric, that's the low income, low energy efficiency metric, 15.8% of people in Leeds experience fuel poverty already. And that's why we've got initiatives like the Affordable Warmth Strategy, and we have initiatives like the Leeds Pipes Heat Network, which is a really fantastic system that tries to make Leeds more energy sustainable. We haven't seen anywhere in the planning documents that the data centre is being looped into Leeds pipes, which we don't understand. Anyway, speaking of costs for utilities being passed on to the consumer, we have to look at the water consumption. Yorkshire Water's drought management plan states that they struggle already to support any increase over their average of 1.3 billion litres of water every day during the peak summer months without instituting a hosepipe ban or asking customers to take 4-minute showers. Now, their average is 1.3 billion litres of water, which is across 5.5 million houses and 140,000 businesses. And given that the data centre's closed-loop cooling system is only functional if the ambient temperature that's around the building remains below 29 degrees, We reached out to the Met Office this week and they were kind enough to inform us that so far in 2026, we have had 8 days that were not only above 29 degrees Celsius, it's only 19th of July, and we know as a result of climate change, the number of those hot days are only going to increase year upon year from here. Now, Microsoft have suggested they will harvest rainwater to cool their data center. 2025 was the driest spring in 132 years, and last year Yorkshire Water lost an estimated 260 million litres of water every day due to leaking pipes. That's roughly 21% of their daily supply in Leeds. This led to a downgrade in their Environment Agency rating to 1 star, the lowest rating available. As a consequence of this failing infrastructure, River Aire is already the 6th most polluted river in the UK. So we've got a lot of valid concerns about the foul water disposal from a data centre and how it's going to impact our waterways. Yorkshire Water have submitted a nice little quote saying they don't anticipate this data centre is going to cause, any problems on people's water bills and supply. Given their current rating, I'm not so sure that we can trust them. Okay, does anyone remember the big Leeds climate conversation? That was from back in 2019. Leeds City Council claims to currently be aiming for net zero across the entire district of Leeds by 2030. But the lifetime carbon emissions of this Leeds data centre would be 200,000 tonnes. That is the equivalent of almost 1 year of the entire country's existing emissions. Not the county, not Leeds, the whole of England. We'd love to know whether Microsoft could work in collaboration with Leeds Climate Commission to look at different ways of reducing their impact. We're sure that they will know so many more ways than I and the rest of the volunteers would, but we're already giving this far more scrutiny than Leeds City Council planning departments seem to have done. We watched the videos from both of the planning meetings, and the kind of questions we're asking and the kind of questions that you have been asking us about this, we just didn't see a reflection of that in the planning meetings. And perhaps if there'd been greater community consultation, there would have been an opportunity for that to happen. So I hope that makes it clear what our issues are, and we really hope to keep hearing from you about what you would like to see from this campaign. So our current goals are to try to prevent construction through this moratorium on data centres. We hope that if that's not something that we can stop going ahead, that we can make sure that Microsoft is held accountable with a much greater community consultation. So we'd be looking to have a town hall meeting where everybody has the opportunity to speak with Microsoft, with Leeds City Council about what their questions and their ideas are. We would want to loop in experts from places like Global Action Plan, who are working with people all around the country to try and help them fight the data centres. I'm not sure if you know, but there are over 100 data centres currently seeking planning approval in the UK. Across lots of different technology companies. And we think if this is something that does go ahead in Leeds, then it can't go ahead as it currently is. We deserve better. It has to be done better. And that's where we are so far. So we'll be looking to have a town hall meeting about this. And if we don't get a healthy dialogue, and if we don't get the collaboration and the cooperation that we think that Leeds people deserve, then obviously we'll move to protest. So thank you for listening, and thank you for everything you're doing so far. Please keep it up. We're going to be right here fighting along with you. We're going to be right here sharing information, and let's see what we can do. Thanks, everyone.